Welcome to the practice videos. This is the play-by-ear help video for lesson number 11. As we move into more advanced music, the story of the song becomes really important. The songs are longer, there's more notes. So when you're picking up just by ear, you want to be able to have places to put things. What we're doing here is we're playing classical music. Very often the chords change quite often, and it becomes challenging to do it strictly by ear. So if you want to sneak over and start looking at the music a little bit to help you out, that's fine. One of the big examples of playing by ear is the Suzuki method, which is very, very famous. One little detail that is not often mentioned is that in the school system of Japan, students are all taught how to read music. So even the play-by-ear kids over doing the Suzuki method in Japan were getting note reading. And usually by the time it gets to this level of playing, there's a bit of a combination going. But if you want to go old school and you just want to learn by ear, let me show you the roadmap and give you a couple suggestions to help you out. One of the biggest things that will help you is to go over to the foundations and listen to the song cipher, because I discuss the hard bits in these three songs and how to fix stuff. All right, so that's going to be really important from a technical standpoint. In other words, I got to be able to play the notes, right? But I can still show you some things. So in Musette, the pinky finger is down on the D here, right? Hangs out a lot doing the D to the D. About halfway through, you go to the A. And then you jump down to the E. And then you're there for a long time, okay? So we have the D octave, D to D. Halfway through, there's your A, and you're just bouncing in eighth notes, and then you go down to the E. Okay? Now, this song starts. Then what happens is both hands jump to the F sharp, and they play in unison. So F sharp, G, A. They're playing the same letter name notes. And on some recordings, you get like, what happened to that other voice? So when they're playing different letter name notes, it's easy to recognize too. If they're playing the same note, sometimes it's hard to hear if there's one or two. So that happens in the song. Those four measures I just played, that repeats again, except the ending is a little different. Then the middle section, same kind of idea. That's the middle section starting with the A. When you get over to the E, the right hand is doing this funky thing. E, D sharp, D natural, C sharp. So E, D sharp, low E, D, C sharp, A, G sharp. Okay? So that'll get you going a little bit on Musette. I like to play that one fast. Some people like to play it a little slower. You have to jump around a bit, so you can go a little slower if you want. All right, so the next thing we have is the Scherzo. This is a Haydn piece. So the thing about the Scherzo is that you're in F major. So you're going to go to the foundations. We talk a lot about F major. And then what you have here is you have thumb on C, 2 on F, 4 on A, pinky on C. That'll get you through the first bit. Then it's a scale. Okay, and then you have two fingers, G and B flat. Okay, in the second half, This is a little bit like a simplified version of the Alberti bass. With just the outside notes, bottom note is an E, bottom note is an F, bottom note is a G, bottom note is an A, so the thumb goes in between. Then B flat, B natural, and C, G, C. So when it gets to this point where I'm telling you the specific notes like that, part of you is saying, well, I might want to start investing a little bit in note reading because it can kind of fill in the blanks for you. These big complicated classical pieces, you want to be able to play them. And so you may be able to get like 80% or 90%. And there's just a few notes. Gosh, I wish I knew what that was. And I'm tired of listening to it like 25, 30 times. You find a copy of the music, right? And you can go to that spot and sort of start to piece it together. You can still like memorize the piece, have it almost all by ear. But if you're struggling a bit, understand that it's a natural thing that happens when people start to get with this level of ability in classical music, because it was a form that was written down. Folk music, fiddle music, jazz, blues, those forms weren't naturally written down. So because they're done by ear anyway, they're much easier to learn by ear. So most people who play by ear, they're going to start to gravitate toward learning songs that were in that mix. The classical stuff, it can serve you for a while. Eventually, if you're a classical player and you want to play with other people, you learn to read notes. So there's a bit of a crossroads, and we're getting to it with the level of difficulty of some of these pieces. So if you find it confusing or just too hard, no worries. Start to move in the direction of doing songs that are in that style. Popular songs, bluegrass, Celtic, jazz, blues. There's a lot of music out there that you can pick up from the chords and the melody without having to have all these tiny little details. It starts to drive you nuts a little bit. Don't worry about it. Okay. All right. So we've got the Arabesque. So let me kind of tell you the story of the Arabesque. Let me get this to stay up here. Hello. There we go. All right, so with the Arabesque, A, C, E. It's in A minor, lots of white notes. Then we have A, D, F. So the left hand. Then you have where the bottom note goes down, right? And then you have a chord that's G, B, and F. That's the third line there. And that gets you through all the chords. Right hand, it's a great piece to learn to group notes by 16ths, groups of 4, right? Then just up the fingers starting on D, up the fingers starting on A. All right? That gets you through most of it. Left hand, then up the fingers. It repeats. Oh, lots of music. All right? So that's the beginning there. And then this thing, it slows down there. So this is called a sixth. G to E, down one note, down one note, down another. Then it starts to kind of come in on itself. Go to D sharp with the A and E with the G sharp. Okay. When the lines have 100% independence like that, that's called contrapuntal style. And that's real tricky to hear. Much easier to read. And the super fancy classical composers use that a lot. It makes it sound awesome. They have learned to write that stuff down. They memorize it, right? But they are coming off of the page. So that's how that works. All right? I hope that helps you out. And again, if you find it frustrating to play music of this difficulty only by ear, start to pull out the sheet music. Listen to some of the lessons where I talk about note reading, and watch the echo and the jam sitting in front of those notes. You'll start to pick it up. Oh, that starts on an F. It goes up by step and comes back down. You start to tell the story even of those little bits, and it starts to make sense to you. So just to kind of give you a little bit extra here, I mentioned this in one of the other lessons. Note reading is not just about knowing the letter names of the notes. That you need, right? But more what you do is you see the shape, and you notice when the notes are in a row, right? So we have scales, notes in a row. So, you pull out the music and you see line, space, line, space, line, space. That's notes in a row. You're not sitting there saying the letter names of all those notes in your head. You're just seeing the shape. And a good musician sees that shape and hears the music in their head, just like you've been doing since the very beginning. So there's a way to bridge that gap. And there's sort of this learning curve of, okay, that's an A, that's a B, that's a C sharp. It's a little bit like learning spelling in school. But that doesn't show you how the words go and what the words mean. You guys who are playing by ear, you jumped very quickly into, well, just tell me what it means, right? And I'll figure out how to spell the words later. So you've jumped in one direction ahead of the others. And if you want to do a lot of classical music, you have a passion for this Mozart and Beethoven, learning to read music will be a step that you'll want to take. And it's not too bad, especially since you already have the background. You can go back to the beginning of the book and just start to learn the songs by having the music in front. And then you learn to play the songs without looking at your hands. You can kind of put it together that way, okay? Thanks for joining me.